you were in prison through COVID.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
So COVID in prison was the worst. It was terrible. So we were first locked down in our cells. We had an 8 by 11 foot cell, if you can imagine what that looks like. We were locked in for 2 weeks, April 1st.
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day. We only got out to take a shower, make a quick phone call and a quick email Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we had 3 hours a week out of the cell. Other than that, locked in, completely quiet.
Gosh.
Yes. And, we were thinking maybe after 2 weeks of being locked down, it would let us out after that. Maybe COVID wouldn't be that bad. Obviously, it became terrible.
Yeah.
Were you informed and aware of what was going on?
So I had a radio.
Okay.
But the prison system was very bad at informing us. It was very quiet in there. You didn't hear it. It's like they left us in there completely. Even the first day that they locked us in, because it could do something to a person psychologically to be locked in for that, even 2 weeks.
165 hours straight. Yeah. Like that's what you're looking at.
For sure.
That's crazy.
So the prison psychologist came by all the doors the first day that we were locked in. And he said, I will be here every day to check in on you guys. That was the last the day that we saw him ever again. So we were stuck in there.
And the guards for themselves were worried also. They wanted to stay safe.
Exactly.
So how long was it like that for in prison?
So after the 2-week lockdown, they slipped a piece of paper under our door. I don't remember the exact time that it said on there, but basically on the paper it said you guys are locked down for another few months or something like that.
Gosh.
Same conditions, 24 hours a day, 3 days a week to shower, phone call, and email. That's it. So when I saw that, I was devastated, because beforehand prison wasn't so bad. You get to get out, sunlight, fresh air. Now we're stuck.
Now it's prison.
Yeah, exactly. So it was very hard. Very, very hard.
How do you get through those days?
So I do have an interesting story that happened to me over there. After those 3 months, so we had a 2-week lockdown, turned into a 3-month lockdown, and then they slipped another piece of paper on the door, which turned into another 2 months. So it was about 5 months of straight lockdown.
How many hours is that, Momo? Just curious if you know.
It's a lot of hours. Oh. Maybe 1,000.
Aki was doing some hours math before?
Yeah.
You said 5 months that is?
Aki has this thing on his phone. It's called a calculator.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
5 months times 4, that's 20 weeks.
It gives him a tremendous amount of computing capabilities.
Yeah. 3 hours, 3,360 hours.
Wow.
A lot of freaking hours.
That's crazy. So the way that I got through it, I kept to my routine. I would wake up in the morning, I would daven, I would study, I would work out. But I won't lie to you. It was very difficult. I almost didn't know how to deal with it. I would be walking back and forth. Thank God I didn't go crazy during that time, because you can really go crazy, even spending a day locked down like that. So after the second slip that they put on their door, we're already locked in for 3 months already. And they're saying another 2 months you're locked in. I remember that night I prayed. I opened my book for my Siddur for Mariv, and I was pouring tears, crying my eyes out, because I felt like it wasn't going to end. How many slips are they going to put under the door? How long is this going to last? I had another 2 or 3 years left in prison. I couldn't imagine spending 2 more years locked up. And from what you're hearing on the news, it looked like COVID was never going away, right?
Wow.
So I'm crying badly, right? Praying to Hashem. And I asked Hashem to, obviously to help me during these times. Give me the strength to get through this, right? And, give me good thoughts, because that's a big thing for me, is to think positive thoughts. But this is on a whole nother level, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the next morning, it was Shabbat, Saturday morning. I had my Shabbat table all prepared. We always made sure to, make the separation. So we have Shabbat. I put a white sheet over the table over there. I made my meals. I did a Shabbat as best as I could in there. I remember I'm eating the first meal the second meal for Shabbat in the morning. And I'm still very messed up. I have a lot of anxiety. I have a lot of depression, anger, all these thoughts, bad thoughts bubbling. I'm ready. I'm on the brink of losing it here. But after eating the meal on Shabbat, I had two beautiful thoughts that came to my head out of nowhere. And the first thought was that I am exactly, not just me, but every person is exactly where Hashem wants them to be. So if I'm sitting in this prison cell, whether it be another 3 months or another day, it's exactly where Hashem wanted me to be. So with that thought, I was like, wait a sec, I'm studying all these Musar books on faith and trust in Hashem. So what, now that it gets hard, I'm not supposed to apply it? Now that I'm in a prison cell, I'm not supposed to apply it? Because I'm in solitary confinement, we don't have to believe in God now? So these are the thoughts that I was thinking. And I was happy. My sadness turned to happiness, right?
Wow.
Another thing that happened, the other thought, which I think is stronger than the first. So after that 3-month lockdown, yes.
You flippantly characterize it as not as strong as what you're about to say.
Yeah.
But dude, that is...
Yeah, it's deep. Yeah.
It's extremely deep.
Yes.
And it's so much the avodah that people struggle with on a day-to-day basis. Because there's some circumstance, some difficulty, some mania that pulls us away from the focus of we are exactly in the situation, we're exactly the position that Hashem has designed for us. And it could be as simple as not finding a parking spot. It can be as simple as something that you're working on in your office, in work. It could be something as halig as you can't figure out what Taisvis is trying to say, and we get frustrated.
Yes.
And we lose sight of how we are exactly where we're supposed to be. And for you to have that revelation and clarity in those circumstances is truly astonishing.
Yes. It was a big blessing at the time. The second thought, maybe it's not, I don't know, you guys will be the judge if it's stronger. But after that 3-month lockdown, there was a chance that the piece of paper that was slipped under the door would have said, okay, tomorrow you guys are getting out, right? So I held on to that thought. It gave me a lot of hope. But the problem is I was expecting that would happen, right? That was the problem. So I realized because of my expectation that we would eventually get off of the lockdown, get some fresh air. When I saw that it was the opposite of that, I was plagued with devastation like no other. So I realized that as a Jew, we cannot expect what's going to happen the next day, a year from now, even 10 seconds from now. We have no idea what's going to happen. And we see that what's going on just happened in Israel. It's the same thing. We had no idea that was going to happen. So because I expected that we would get off the lockdown, I was devastated. So I realized in that moment, we cannot, as a Jewish, religious, faith-having person, we can't think what's going to happen tomorrow. We can't expect what's going to happen. Only what Hashem gives us. Only where Hashem puts us. So with that thought in mind, I was able to, it did something to me where I was able to, the past few months, the trauma from that I was able to heal from that trauma, and I was able to go forward with whatever was ahead. It was still hard. I'm not going to lie and be like, I turned into this big emunah person, but it was such a strong thought that it helped me. That's a tool that I now had to go forward.